John and Ian from Deer Tick, welcome. You guys sound great.
Glad to be here. Thanks, man.
Congratulations. Not one, but 2 new records that sound really good.
Thanks.
Was there, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Was there, it's like Windows service. You can get an empanada or something. Was there, when you went to make this record, you went down to Memphis and you went to Arden Studios and stuff, did you know you were going to make 2, or did you just think, well, we're going to go and record a bunch of stuff, and then they kind of fell into these 2 piles?
Yeah, back in 2015, we tried recording a follow-up to Negativity.
Negativity, yeah.
It was my idea was to make 2 records, one with no electric guitars and one with no acoustic guitars. And we started doing some demos in Nashville with our buddy Adam Landry, who ended up producing the 2 new ones. But we broke all our own rules
Pretty quickly.
And well, at first, once we got in there, we were like, "These are demos. This is the real stuff. We're really making the record." And then we broke all our rules, and then everything just kind of sounded sonically. It was all very similar, and I took it pretty hard, and I thought it was a really big failure on our part. So we trashed everything, and we revisited the idea of recording again. Well, I don't know, it's over a year later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we especially wanted to go somewhere else, some neutral territory, someplace that had something special to it.
Yes, destination. You know, it's a funny thing because I read an interview or something where I think it was you, John, talking about how you got in the studio and you started playing these songs. You went, "Oh yeah, that sounds like Deer Tick. That sounds like our band."
Yeah,
and
it really hit me.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I don't think a lot of people know the nuance and the subtlety when you've been playing music with people for a long time. You can play the same songs with other people who are perfectly good, but it's not your band. It's not, it's not the communication and the connection that you guys have.
Yeah. It had been so long, I mean, for us, since we had made our last record too, we kind of forgot all about that whole process. And,
forgot all the old grievances and things that were bothering you. It was like a reunion, probably.
It kind of was. I mean, there was a period of time in there where I wasn't sure I wanted to continue with the band.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest.
Yeah.
But
well, anybody who has a job in the arts, there's nothing solid about that.
Absolutely not.
You never know. It's like, where's the inspiration? Where's the next gig? It's all subject to. Yeah. Hey, before we go too much farther, I just want to talk a little bit about where you guys come from, because I don't think a lot of our listeners understand the particular corner of the world that is Rhode Island or Providence, Rhode Island. So just the influence, sandwich in there between Connecticut and Massachusetts and New York, and there you are, just sort of like island unto yourself, and it isn't like those other places.
It's not, and Rhode Island is a very independent, free-thinking place, and we hate being compared to Massachusetts and Connecticut, especially those 2 places, because they're our neighbors.
Yeah.
And, they were so tiny. I mean, you could fit half the population in this room, probably.
But it's also kind of a pretty diverse town. Providence is, that's got a lot of different ethnicities, and I don't know whether there's, politically how it's organized, but it seems like kind of a rough and tumble place, and politically in some ways.
Oh yeah, it's very. I mean, it has a long history of corruption.
Yeah.
We've all seen it firsthand if you've lived there.
Yeah, I mean, my dad was he was a state rep for many years, and I got a real good look at all all that kind of stuff. I've met some characters that have been immortalized in books and on that podcast, Crime Town and stuff.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so the mob had its pull. I know your dad did a little time of his own, right?
He did. My dad went to prison for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Doing some shady things.
Okay, well, I just think we needed to set the stage a little bit to see where the Deer Tick vibe comes from, because you are kind of irreverent and with a sense of humor and a kind of, commitment to being good, but also you don't want people to take you too seriously, and you also want to. I mean, my impression from the outside.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be good, but we don't want to sweat it too much. You know?
Yeah.
We've seen so many peers and so many bands that just look so foolish taking themselves so seriously.
Right.
Going to music festivals and there's a dress code for our genre of music or something like that.
Yeah.
So we're trying to avoid that from the beginning, I think.
I get it. Okay.
It's always opposite day in Deer Tick.
Yeah.
One of my kids was in a band when she was first living in Brooklyn, and the band was named after what they saw as this sort of intentional uniform. The band was called Dirty on Purpose. It was just like, 'cause everybody was like, they probably had trust funds, but their jeans are ripped and they're wearing an old shirt. And anyway, I want to talk. Means nothing, I know. I want to ask you guys about this other thing. So once we get the sense that Rhode Island is kind of a space unto itself, and you've got your own way of thinking about things, how musically when you're coming up, were there kind of like, did you turn each other on to records as you were growing up, or did your friends say, hey, check this out, or were you just diving through your parents' record collection? How did you discover the music that inspired you?
The radio was a big thing for me. I remember, the oldies station used to actually play oldies. And that was, that's a big influence for me. All that early Roy Orbison and Little Richard and, early Beatles. I was really crazy about that as a kid.
Yeah. How did you discover Hank Williams? Because I heard that was a epiphany for you.
Yeah, that happened in my late teens. Most people up north, you kind of write off country as a whole. You're just like, this is a bunch of crap. But, the one country station that we had in Rhode Island just played the worst stuff. I didn't know there was anything better than that in the genre. So,
yeah.
When I got into Hank, that was a big moment for me. My first concert, I just want to mention, was Los Lobos. And they're a big influence on me.
Oh man, what a solid influence! You can't have a better one. And of course, Steve Berlin produced your Negativity record, right?
Yes, it's strange becoming a friend of one of your idols. You know, because usually you meet somebody that you look up to, and they turn out to be a jerk.
I'm glad you never got any of my records before today, because could have gone either way. Listen, we have lots more music to get to, but I just want to, again, mention that you've got these new records. You cut them down in Memphis. You're out there touring, one more acoustic than the other. I know, being from Rhode Island, Newport is kind of like the antithesis of Providence in a way. It's just like, it's like a whole nother country.
It's funny, though. Newport has the second highest crime rate in Rhode Island.
Really?
Yeah.
Not too far behind.
Okay.
Certain parts of both are very wealthy, and certain parts of both are very poor.
Yeah, you get the downtown kind of divides the two Providences, and Newport's got its
underbelly
different
too.
areas. Yeah.
Well, and you guys, the Newport Folk Festival, of course, is a big event, and you guys have kind of a steady gig doing something there, right? Like an after-hour show.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, you tell me. I've been yapping too much, Ian.
I'm just spacing out. No worries. I don't know, how many years have we been doing this for?
This year was our seventh
year. Yeah, we started off doing these after parties in Newport because we weren't asked back to play one year. So I think we were just like, we'll just do our own show.
We always take things the hard way.
Yeah, it's always a struggle with us. So we started doing that, and then they started to get pretty successful. So then Jay Sweet at the Newport Folk Festival wanted a hand in it too. So we've been doing it after every festival for the past 7 years. We usually have friends or idols come up and play with us, like Jackson Browne or Fleece Brothers,
Got to jam with Billy Bragg this year.
Yeah.
Hey, and tonight we get to jam with Garland Jeffries.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm very happy about that.
that's one of the kind of the foundations of the Newport Folk Festival is those collaborations starting back in the early 60s where people from Louisiana would meet and play with people that they hadn't met in different styles and that collision, that collaboration. But I like the kind of Providence thing where it's like, oh, they didn't book us? We'll go in, we'll do our own thing. We'll take over, and we'll
take all the bands from the festival who we're close friends with and make them play with us for free.
You want to see? We'll show you a Newport Folk Festival. Yeah.
We forced our way back in.
But now it has become a very legitimate thing now. The money that we raise from these shows, we give it all to multiple myeloma research and to the Newport Festivals Foundation, so they can keep doing their nonprofit thing for the Folk and Jazz Festival.
Yeah. I want to. That's great when a band can build a community, and then you see that there's an opportunity once you have that community to make something cool happen.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, just because I know we're going to go to music in a second, but there's a song on the new record that is so. It's got that sort of classic, well-crafted song where you think it's going somewhere, and then it has a twist and it turns around in another direction, and that's called "Hope Is Big."
Yeah.
So, tell me about where that one came from. And
I wrote that song when I was like 18 years old. I think it was the first song that I wrote that I was like, I guess I can write songs. I think it was just like, especially when you first start songwriting, writing songs, you kind of just do some there's more stream of consciousness involved at the earlier stages because you're pretty pure, and you don't have a craft yet. But I think that I just had that hook, that is the chorus, and then I kind of just filtered images of some personal and public dystopian feelings.
Right. Which makes it feel so incredibly current right now.
That's the funniest part. We were recording it. We finally recorded this song and like put it on a record. And I had written it being pretty wrapped up like as a high school student with like the Bush era politics. And then it could only really be released, it seems, during the Trump era. So
yeah. Well, it's following the hope, which was this sort of synonym for the Obama years, right? So
exactly.
So wild. Anyway, we've got all kinds of great music to listen to. I'm glad you guys are here. Congratulations again on the new records.
Thank you.
Thanks a bunch.
Let's get back to music. Welcome back, if you would, Deer Tick.